In this episode, the Fyfe fairy tale, our reaction to the Harley Reid bombshell, and Liam Baker to captain West Coast for the remainder of the season. Welcome to the West Sport Show. We are brought to you by TabTouch. Got the touch? Download the TabTouch app today. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. I'm joined, as always, on a Tuesday by Craig O'Donoghue from the West Australian. How are you, Cod?
Good, Quarters. It's been a historic 24 hours, hasn't it? About 24 hours from right now when we're recording is when we found out that arguably the greatest of all time from Fremantle has pulled up stumps.
So Nat Fyfe, 245 games, debuted in 2010, 2014 and 15 MVP, of course. Those two Brownlow medals in 2015 and 2019. And let's hope that there's a little bit of silverware on his way for the remainder of this year. So let's talk about the career, the legacy, whether we think he can remain in this team as the sub or, in fact, as a member of the starting 22. But I've got Pav, just overall, I've got Pav and Fyfe as the best two Dockers to ever play for the Fremantle. And then the conversation you can have from three onwards is, is it Mundy? Is it McFarlane? Is it Sandilands? But they're 1 and 2, and I think
Clearly
most people have got them 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Now, I've got Pav marginally ahead, and that's not from a lack of love for what Fyfe's done. Just two Brownlows speaks for itself, and the MVPs. I just think the number of all Australians, the fact that he's played them he's got in as a defender, as a forward, as a midfielder, just for me, just has him marginally ahead, Pav.
Well, they're so close to each other in what they are. That your argument makes perfect sense. You can say he's got more All Australians and he's done it in multiple positions. You can then turn around and say, well, Nat Fyfe's won 2 Brownlows.
You can.
And he's won 2 AFL MVP awards. And when he played for Australia in the international rules with the best players in the country,
won the award.
He won that award too. And when he was at his best, Fremantle experienced their best era in the history of their club. So there's so many ways to look at it. The reality is we're talking about small margins.
The reality is it doesn't really matter. It's subjective. It's subjective.
Yeah.
So they're both greats of the club. And I feel like it would be such a great ending if they would at least go deep in September with Nat Fyfe a big part of it, given the real struggle he's had in the last couple of years is it's all to do with how combative he was at a player at his very best and what he did, how he sacrificed his body for the team. He's now paying the price for that. So I think he's owed something.
He's been paying that price for a long time too, hasn't he? There was a fear that he wouldn't be able to even get this far into his career because of just what he was prepared to do. He was a contested marking beast. He was a clearance beast. He put his head over the ball, got knocked out many, many times in really frightening ways. And he was so damn good for 7 years where everyone wanted to be Nat Fyfe. Like, that's the reality. You just wanted to go, I wish I could play like that Nat Fyfe. That's what every other player in the competition used to say. It was like, how on earth do you stop him? He was just this elite
very, very
machine.
hard to match up on.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at it. So his ability to do more than one thing. He was the complete player. So if you look at the midfielders of this generation that he played in, you're talking about Dangerfield, Ablett, Bontempelli and Dusty. They're the ones who were the greatest players when he was around. Judd had already gone at that point. So of those guys, 10 clearances in a game, Dangerfield's done that the most. With 32, Ablett on 25 and then Fyfe on 23. Then you go, well, could you kick goals as well as get those 10 clearances in the game? And Ablett did that 9 times, Dangerfield 8, Fyfe 7. But could you then go up into the air and take the mark? What about 10 clearances, 2 goals, and 2 contested marks in the same game? Well, Fyfe's got 5, and Dangerfield, Ablett, Dusty, and Bont have got 6 combined. So that's where he became this different guy who was like, okay, well, I'll take you into the middle of congestion. Okay, you want to tag me? I'll take you forward. Let's see if you can match me there, or match me on the wing even taking a contested mark. He was just impossible to stop.
And I think we can add Bontempelli to that list as well now in terms of what he can do aerially and at ground level. But I think if I look back at Fyfe's career and I look at when he was at his absolute best, say 2015, right? Let's pull 2015 out of the hat. Round 19, when we all wanted to see, don't put a stopper on him. Just go head-to-head with Dangerfield. This is when Dangerfield was at Adelaide, right? So Fyfe v Dangerfield that day, Fyfe 40 disposals, 4 marks, 6 tackles, 10 inside 50s and a goal. Dangerfield was pretty tidy that day too. He had 38 and 29 contested possessions. So it was an unbelievable matchup that day, and Fyfe emerged ahead.
Yeah, so Fyfe got the 3 votes. He said 14 clearances in that day. When he's standing next to Dangerfield, 14. I think Dangerfield had 9 or 10 himself. It was wild though. And during there was a 6-week period which included that where Fyfe averaged 33 disposals, 1.5 goals, and 11 clearances per game over 6 weeks. He was just going bang, bang, bang the entire time. But that Fyfe v Dangerfield game will never be forgotten because the coaches were prepared to say,
Let's go head to head.
Yep, put our best versus your best. We're not going to panic. We're going to let this play out. Fremantle won the game. And if the Crows had said at the time, let's try to stop Fyfe for 5 minutes, maybe they would have won the game. But both coaches were prepared to say, no, let's have a look at this and just leave it as it is. There was another one that year, which I think is actually Fyfe's greatest game. It was round 2 up against Geelong at GMHBA Stadium. So the Cats had finished 3rd the previous year. Fremantle went to the Cattery and Fyfe had 36 disposals, 6 clearances and 3 goals. And he kicked one on his left foot, he kicked another one with the right foot snap, another one from a mark. He was just saying, whatever you want me to do, I'm just going to go and do it in that game. And Geelong would just turn around going, what the hell is this guy?
I'll pull out a couple more. The 2014 semi-final v Port Adelaide. The 2013 preliminary final v Sydney, 27 and 6 clearances that day. We all remember that. What a memorable day that was. 2021 round 1 v Geelong at home. I think it was Ross Lyon's first game in charge. Would that be right?
2011. You saw
2011.
2011, yeah.
30 disposals, 6 marks, 7 tackles, 5 inside 50s and 2 goals. That's a decent way to impress your new coach, don't you reckon?
Oh, absolutely. And that's when he's a really young player at that time. I'll never forget his first pre-season intra-club game. Mark Harvey was talking after the game as the coach, and everyone's like, what'd you make of Nat Fyfe? And he said, did he remind you of anyone? And we all went, yeah, but we're not prepared to drop the name because we're going to look stupid. And he goes, I'll say the name. Then he goes, you reminded me of James Hird. And that's a pre-season intra-club game where he hasn't even played an AFL match yet. And Harvey's going, he reminds me of James Hird. And then shortly afterwards, it was Stephen Hill reminds me of Michael Long. And he was right with both of them. Hird was the ideal comparison. Hard at the footy, can do stuff in the air, can do stuff on the ground, and he turns him into a Brownlow medalist. It was an amazing way to instantly go, we can see that in him straight away.
And lived up to it as well, which was great to see. And again at the weekend, so another come-from-behind victory for Fremantle. Some great heroics at the end from the captain, Alex Pearce. But Nat Fyfe's role, really important, came on as the sub, played a pivotal role in that last quarter where they needed that bigger body in the midfield to stand up. And I think that's shown us a pathway forward that these next 6-7 weeks he can play a vital role. How do you see it playing out? Another subs vest this week? Is he going to be in the 22? If he is continually in the subs vest? I mean, we're running out of runway now for him to get some match fitness in the waffle, but he just stays in that senior team and makes it his own.
Yeah, I think he's the permanent sub for the rest of the year.
So you can do that? You don't think he needs more time out there? You think he can just fulfill that role?
I think he can do that. So come on midway through the third quarter, so he can play 40% games, 40 minutes or whatever it might be. He's less likely to get hurt then and he can recover well. He went back out into the field after the game on Saturday night and did his running to top up what he needed to do. But it means when he comes on, he's fresh and he can have an instant impact. And Port Adelaide didn't know how to stop him because they were tired and he's not. So then he's got the extra strength to push Ollie Wines out of the way. And then this week he'll have the extra strength to push Josh Dunkley out of the way. And next week Marcus Bontempelli out of the way and open up the space for him because they became a better team when he came onto the field straight away. And even that last stoppage where Caleb Sarong won the footy in space, it was Fyfe, if you look back, holding on to Ollie Wines, going, nah, you're not getting anywhere near him. I'm just not going to allow you to even get close to laying a tackle. And that opened up the space for Sarong. So I think he can definitely play as the sub. He makes them better by coming on as the sub straight away, which is important when the game is on the line. And there's an aura about him in more ways than one. It was really telling, I thought, that he came back into the rooms probably 25 minutes after the game had finished. So they've sung the song and then he goes out and does his running. And the atmosphere in there had been amazing whilst he was gone. Everyone's up and about and it was just starting to die down again. And then in he comes and everyone's like, yeah! And he waves to the crowd who were in there and the teammates and the atmosphere built again. People want to see him have success.
And absolutely they do.
Now we're on the farewell tour part of it. I reckon there's going to be momentum that will build with every win and with every prospect that he has of being successful. There will be an extra motivation for everybody.
Of course, the period when he is the sub and he's not out there playing, he's an extra coach on the bench.
Yep.
And Justin Longmuir has talked that up for some time now. And the players have said how much they get from him just sitting on the bench, coming off for a breather, and there's Nat Fyfe telling you, talking to you through your game and what you have to do next. That's invaluable.
And imagine, so let's say it's close, right? Halfway through the third quarter this weekend on Friday night, and Fyfe stands up on the bench and starts doing his warm-up and starts doing his run-throughs, and the crowd...
There's a bit of theatre about it, isn't there?
Yeah, the crowd's going to get into that. There's going to be the roar. So even before he comes on, he'll have an impact just by that crowd going, here he comes, here he comes. And then Chris Fagan will be standing there on the sidelines going, okay, we know Fyfe's coming on. How do we manipulate this? How do we handle this? What do we do in the centre square? He has to start thinking about a counter move. So, yeah, he's just got an ability to change the game straight away because, I mean, you only have to look. Between 2012 and 2019, excluding the games where he got hurt midway through and didn't finish it, he played 120 matches. And he polled Brownlow medal votes in 65 of those. Every second game he polled a vote. And he was best on ground in 37 of those 120. So even if he's only on the ground for a quarter, he will have that impact because he was one of the best players.
So
on the
you're
ground
a former
last
umpire. What do you think is so attractive to umpires about the way he played at his peak?
If players make you go, oh, wow, I didn't expect that to happen, or they make you move, or they make you make a decision, that's what you remember at the end of the day from a Brownlow voting perspective.
I'll think of movement through stoppage. That's what I'll think of when I think of Nat Fyfe. I mean, I know he was so much more than that, but almost that unstoppable movement through stoppage.
Yeah, and you see... Not many players can do something like what Fyfe did. Or Simon Black won a Brownlow because he made the game open up and you went, how did that ball come out? It was Simon Black. Or Chris Judd would burst clear from the congestion. Fyfe was just able to barrel his way through or take the contested mark or just have three blokes on him and find a way to get the ball out. Yeah, that's what made him the superstar that he was. And just able to do things that nobody else could. As I said, he could do it in the air, on the ground, win heaps of the footy. He was kicking goals. Everyone talks about how he misses a lot of goals, but over the course of his actual career, his goal kicking wasn't that bad until later on in his career. He was the complete package for a hell of a long time.
What do we put that down to? Just the body, the legs? I mean, he's had quite a few injuries.
Yeah, I would have thought these goal kicking specifically, he lacked the ability to train as much, which means his skills drop off. And then once you start to get concerned about things, we all know it's like playing golf, isn't it? Once you shank one into the trees, the next one's probably going into the trees as well because you convince yourself it's going to happen.
Some ability at golf, which I don't have, but clearly Nathan has a lot of ability with football skills.
The other thing I reckon it's important to mention is that everyone talks about like he's gone downhill and hasn't been the player that he once was for a long time. Last year, he had 37 possessions against the Western Bulldogs. And last year, he had 13 clearances against West Coast. So
those 37 possessions, how many remind me there were a lot of handballs, weren't there, to free up to get other opponents.
To get other people going well. Yeah, so he's always been, when he's fit and firing and able to get his body right, he's just been a weapon the entire time. And there's been 3 iterations of Fyfe as well. So there was the first one when we were like, oh, who is this guy? And in his first season, he had 27 touches and 3 goals in his 6th game. And we all went, hang on, this guy can play. Then he became the best player in the competition. And then at the end of 2020, I'll never forget this. I interviewed him after the final round of 2020 in Cairns. So they just lost to the Western Bulldogs. They'd finished 12th with a 7-10 record. So it's 18 games post-Brownlow medal for Nat Fyfe, and he finished runner-up in the BNF that year and was in the All-Australian squad. I said to him, where do you see this team at? Where do you see yourself at? Where's this club going to go forward? And he was 29 years old. And this is his exact quote. He said, fans should be excited about our 1st to 5-year players because it's the first time in a while that I look at them and think these guys are going to be genuine guns. He said, David Mundy, Michael Walters and I need to get out of the way and let them take this club forward because I'm a fan as much as everyone else and I look forward to what they're going to become. So he was volunteering to hand over the game to Caleb Sarong, who'd played 14 games, Andrew Brayshaw, who played 56, and Adam Chera, who'd played 58. Round 1 the next year, Chera, Sarong and Brayshaw all had equal to or more centre bounce attendances than Fyfe, and in round 2, Fyfe only went in there once. He literally just went, nah, it's all yours, and handed it to them so Sarong could become what he is now, Brayshaw could become what he is now. And he was prepared back then to make the sacrifice of his own game so he could get to the 5 years later, which is now, to try to win a flag.
What next for Fyfe? Let's hope he gets some silverware or at least goes deep in September. What next? Can he coach? I mean, I would think he'd have some role in the media next year as well. But do you think coaching down the track? Do you think he's got that in
I'd be
it?
surprised if he went into coaching because I think he can make more money doing other stuff. There's not a lot of money in assistant coaching anymore. So he will make a truckload in the media. And he will be so good because he can see the game. The work that he's done in the media, I reckon, has always been impressive.
Yeah.
So
always been very accessible.
Yeah, he did some work on Grand Final Day in 2021 when the Grand Final was here, and he was really impressive with that. And the way he sees the game differently, there's a spot now as well. Now that Pav's leaving Fox Footy and heading over to Sydney Swans,
yes.
so there's a spot there already available. We'd love to have him on the Channel 7 coverage as well, wouldn't we? So I don't think there's any doubt that we will be seeing Nat Fyfe for a long time, making us more educated about the game.
As a proud major sponsor of the Fremantle Football Club, Woodside has accepted the challenge of supporting local footy at all levels, from grassroots to greatness, so it can thrive throughout WA. Woodside, Australia's leading energy company. COD, you were over there watching Fyfe's final quarter heroics, but you're also watching Alex Pearce's final quarter heroics. And it's funny because a lot of the Eastern States media said, "Oh, where did that move come from?" But of course, you and I have seen it happen often. It's either Alex Pearce or Brennan Cox with that throw of the dice late in a game, they go forward. And I love the quotes, your interview with him. He wanted the moment. He wanted to go for it. He could visualise himself doing it. But just talk us through a bit about the emotion of it, particularly when he was talking to you about his good friend, the late Cam McCarthy.
Yeah, so I interviewed him it would have been 15 minutes after the game, I reckon. And I said, take me through that moment. Because I said, you're really good at kicking goals, even though you're a backman, and you seem to want that moment. So take me through how you assess what you have to do there. You know, given everything else that's going on around you. And he said, I look up, say something to my great mate Cam, and ask him to help me put it through. And I said, hang on, if we're going to go back a little bit of a step here, I don't want to name Cam if that was just you accidentally said that. You want to talk about this a bit more? And he said, no, let's talk about it. He goes, it's important.
He was a great set shot,
yeah,
Cam McCarthy.
he said he was a great set shot. He goes, so I lean on him. He's still an important part of my life to me. So I asked him for the help, and and that's exactly what happened. He was quite emotional talking about it, and he said, I almost missed it. Kicked at the right-hand post, and it only just wobbled its way back in. And he said, but he's a very spiritual person, Alex Pearce, and very emotional person, and it's been a tough time for him. He said just trying to get his body right and speaking to psychologists about the worries that he has about having multiple broken legs and multiple broken arms, and the pain in your bones makes him really, really worry, because every bit of pain is, what happens next and all that sort of stuff. So he's had a tough time of it, but he's been able to get himself right. And I said to him, when did you actually go forward? Because you weren't forward for the last centre bounce. You were in the back line. Then I said, what point did you make the decision you were going? He said, no, I was always going. He said, you just lose the player by starting in the back line. So you look for the right moment to actually genuinely charge there. So when the ball got to a certain point on the ground, he felt comfortable to go. He said, and then you just try and find someone shorter than you, stand next to them, and then it's Caleb, kick it here, and bang, away he goes and takes the mark. So it was genius by the way they set it up. It's really good coaching again by Justin Longmuir. He tried it against Sydney this year as well and flew and didn't take the mark. And this time he has. It's going to be something that every club's now going to look out for. Probably won't be him next time. It'll probably be Brendan Cox
again. Well, he's done it a few times. Should we be worried about the 8-goal second quarter they've coughed up to a team that was at home but has been struggling a bit? Or should we be more optimistic about the fact that, again, they came from behind. They found a way to win when they weren't playing at their best?
I'm worried about the second quarter in that they couldn't stop it.
They just midfields get on top of them.
Yeah, and it's either the huge body in the midfield or the explosive midfielder. So this time it was Zach Butters with 4 centre clearances and just did as he pleased. We saw last year how Harley Reid got on top of them in the Derby. We've seen Patrick Cripps and George Hewitt get on top of them recently. The bigger body they find hard to stop because they aren't bigger bodies themselves until Fyfe gets in there. So Jago O'Meara being in there is important. I don't think Luke Jackson really helps them with his big body because he's so tall that he's just a little bit slower off the mark, and the stats show that he halves the centre clearances for them rather than helps them to win it. So they need Hayden Young, they need Nat Fyfe, and they need Matt Johnson. They need Jago Mira, these sorts of guys in there just to do either a negative role or be the bigger body in there. So it's important for them to
Won't get away with that if they cough that up in the finals.
No, they won't. So they have to fix that. I think personnel will help, but they have to be prepared to say, it's time to defend for 5 minutes in the centre square rather than everyone going after the ball.
So I'm pretty sure if Hayden Young was in that midfield in that second quarter, it wouldn't have been an 8-goal.
No. Well, it's interesting also that every game where they've been monstered for a half of footy, they fixed it in the second half. So at some point, they've got to go, let's not get to half time and have the coach yell at us and tell us to change something and restructure. They need to be able to restructure on the run. And if they can do that, it will change everything.
Now, one little bit out of left field. What did you make of I'll give you 2 favourite moments from the weekend. One was non-footy. I don't know if you saw the 2020 highlights from Australia up in Darwin, but the greatest crowd catch I've ever seen. The bloke's caught it in his left hand while holding 2 cans.
Fair effort, 2 cans.
And the other one, that was a fair effort. But my other highlight, it's a footy one. I'm just interested in your take on it. Did you see Rowan Marshall and Camden McIntosh with the headband?
Yes.
So he's removed his headband and was done for head-high contact.
It was actually done for misconduct.
Okay, not head high?
No, it's not head high. So
because that amused me.
Yeah, you're not allowed to spray water on someone. You're not allowed to grab
the water bottle
and spray it on someone. That's a free kick. If you throw someone's boot away, it's a free kick. If you take someone's jumper off deliberately and start ripping it off and throwing it away, that's a free kick. Yeah. If you take someone's headband off and throw it away, it's a free kick. So that's what it is. They would have pointed to the head or something, but the actual free kick is misconduct because players used to just lose their minds. There was nothing you could do about it.
It's a very prominent headband because of the bald scone. I remember back in the day, Bruce Doull had his, which was sacrilegious, removing Bruce Doull's headband and was thrown into the crowd.
Tony Bahaja.
It was thrown into the crowd. He's lucky he got it back. The other one, I think, was someone removed Don Scott's headband, which is probably pretty silly.
That's not a
He had the
move.
red mist. So now, listen, I did want to ask your opinion on the announcement from the AFL today. Are you a Snoop Dogg fan?
I'm not a Snoop Dogg fan. I'm not that sort of music fan in general. I love his entertainment factor, though. I think he'll be great. He will entertain the hell out of the crowd. And I think you want a big name. He is a big name. He will create attention. There's no doubt he'll entertain. Regardless of whatever songs he comes out with, he'll entertain. Yeah.
Drop It Like It's Hot, Gin and Juice, Young, Wild and Free, just 3 of his. Still a Thing. There's 4 of his songs. Look, I don't want to be a curmudgeon about it all, but I'm on this every year. I understand why they're getting Snoop Dogg. I understand why they got Robbie Williams, why they got Kiss, why Katy Perry. But it's eyeballs. But I just still feel like we should be celebrating our own. If it's our biggest sporting event of each year, I think we should be showcasing our own talent. Now, just for example, this year, we could go for the younger demographic, someone like the Hilltop Hoods, the Kid Leroy. But even this year, we've got a farewell tour for Crowded House, a great New Zealand-Australian band. Why wouldn't you have Crowded House? I just think we're missing an opportunity to showcase our own talent.
I can see why you think that. And if there was a big Aussie band or a big Aussie act who was modern and in the spotlight a lot, I think, and it crossed over all the demographics, I think that's definitely the way to go. But I don't think we've got that at the moment. I don't look at Australia's music scene at the moment and go, when we were talking about the excitement of, Farnham, Jimmy Barnes and Hunters and Collectors and Powderfinger and all these sorts of things where everyone went, yeah, they're massive for us. I don't see that at the moment. Kylie, another one you could look at. I just don't see any of that. Midnight Oil, keep on going.
Last year was Cold Chisel's farewell tour. They would have been great.
That would have been great for us. But I'm not sure that a 15 to 20-year-old gives a toss about that. And so it's important to find the right market for it, and it's not easy to do, especially the way the music's going.
So do you reckon the 50-plussers would be keen on Snoop Dogg? Because there's a big audience for 50-plussers watching AFL.
Yeah, there certainly is. And that's the challenge, finding the right person. But I do think they have gone. It's been great. When the Killers came out here, it was great. And then when, as you said, Katy Perry last year was fantastic. I thought Kiss were great. Kiss were brilliant. Robbie Williams was awesome. Like, they tended to have hit the mark. And Snoop Dogg, everyone knows I love wrestling. Snoop Dogg was involved in WrestleMania a few years back and was just meant to be standing on the sidelines, just being the bloke who's there. And there was an injury in the first 30 seconds of the match that he was there to be part of it. He jumped in the ring and just automatically said, well, I've got to entertain. So I walked over to the guy who hadn't been hurt, smacked him in the face and did a whole routine, dropped the people's elbow, and the joint went nuts. And it was like he saved that moment. So I reckon he will be able to, no matter what happens, whether it's a 75-year-old or a 15-year-old, I reckon he'll entertain people because he knows how to draw a crowd.
I must say I was a bit worried when he was a torchbearer at the last year's Paris Olympics. I was worried he was just going to light a reefer or something with it. I was very concerned. A bit of news at West Coast. So it's getting ridiculous now. So the story dropped this morning that Tim Watson actually believes that he's now been offered $25 million over 20 years at St Kilda. This is just getting ridiculous now. And to be honest, mate, if these figures are all correct, then I think it's just West Coast taps out and just goes for 3 first rounders.
Yeah,
he's being priced out of it.
Yeah, and if Harley Reid wants to go and play for St Kilda,
good luck to him.
A small club that hasn't had any success and take the 25 mil, well, he's well and truly entitled to do that because I wouldn't be paying it if I was West Coast either. I don't see how St Kilda could get a deal done because they've only got one. They got pick 8 and they might get pick 9 if Tom de Koning leaves as well.
Well, that's right. That's $1.7 million offer each season on its own. But my theory is always if you want to get a deal done, if you want to play that badly, you'll make sure it gets done. It's just a matter of getting those early draft picks in. But they'll want 3 first rounders.
They would want 3.
2 inside the top 10.
So if I'm St Kilda, I'm saying St Kilda need to get Nasiah Wangan and Malera to stay. If he leaves and they can't keep him, then go for your life, throw everything at Harley Reid so that they've got a player that people can care about because at the moment it's hard to care about St Kilda. And if they can offer Harley a deal that's just so ridiculous that he has to take it, well, good on him and take the money. I still fear that there isn't a player in the competition. I don't think there's a player in the world. I wouldn't say the world because Americans make that money straight away, but there's no athlete in Australia who could make that money at 20 years of age and become the player that they are destined to be because they become comfortable.
Maybe not Nasiah the Messiah does if he goes to Port Adelaide. I mean, to be fair with you, and there's a lot of St Kilda players I have a great respect for. Rowan Marshall is one of them. Jack Steele's another. But he's the only reason I'm watching St Kilda games at the moment. He is a jet.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they can keep Nasiah and get Harley, well, all of a sudden everyone goes, oh, now we have to watch this damn team. And that would be as exciting as all get out, really. Harley's challenge is that he knows he's going to make money. He has to pick the right place where he's going to feel like he will play his best footy, where he'll be motivated and where he'll be happy. And if he can find the right mix of all those things, then he'll have a good career. The challenge will be if he only goes for the money, it could be really hard for him then to feel the motivation because if the team that he goes to isn't any good for a long time, if he gets 5 or 6 years into his career and he's had no success, well, it's going to be pretty damn hard to constantly want to put your head over the footy and go, well, I'm going to risk my body when you know that the money's still coming in later.
Pretty sure throughout his entire junior career too, he played for teams that weren't very successful. So he's due for. He wants to win. He wants to win. He's a winner.
Yeah.
The other news at West Coast. I was at training this morning and Harry Edwards was out there. Had missed last week with a foot injury. He didn't look all that convincing to be honest, but trained with the main group. So let's see how he goes Thursday. I say that because. You thought Adelaide was a challenge last week. They got the Bulldogs this week. You got Aaron Norton, who's second in the Coleman, and Sam Darcy. So good luck matching up on those two.
At Marvel.
At Marvel. And I haven't even mentioned Vandermeer or Riley West. Geez, a fair goal from Riley West in the clutch last week against Melbourne. That was a terrific goal. He's a good player too. So a bit going on there. The other news there is, of course, Liam Duggan. The club's decided not to challenge that 2-match suspension that he copped for the head-high contact on Riley Thilthorpe, which means that there's only 2 members of the leadership group left, which is Jack Graham and Liam Baker, the 2 players they recruited from Richmond at the end of last year. So just today they've announced that Liam Baker will be the captain for the final 2 games, which I think's the right choice.
Well, they couldn't give it to Jack Graham.
No,
they
coming
just
off the last 4
could not give it to Jack Graham.
The last 4 weeks, missing 4 weeks, but for the homophobics there. But look, he seems to have slotted in. I think, by the way, Jack Graham has been a good recruit this year too, apart from missing those 4 weeks. Both of them, I think, have shown leadership at times. Liam Baker has slotted in pretty seamlessly. It's his 150th game this week as well, and a good boy from country Western Australia.
Yep, out from Nat Fyfe territory, actually, out the same part of...
Pingaring?
Somewhere out that way, near where Fyfe was from. It's amazing the amount of talent that comes from that part of the world. such a small part of WA and just elite talent left, right, and centre, which is fantastic.
His hometown there, I'm told there's a tree in the main square where all the local community all go. This is Liam Baker. They all go to solve their problems and discuss any issues they have. He might head there before this weekend and just consult some people under the tree to see what he can.
He might end up captain next year.
Oh, he very well could. I think there's a lot of talk that could be the case. And I've got him ahead in the Worsfold medal at the moment too.
Yeah, he'd absolutely be up there.
I've got Ruben Ginby up there. I've got, I think Graham will poll. I think Liam Duggan will poll votes. I think Brady Hoff will poll votes. But I think Liam Baker, for me, is ahead in that.
It'll be interesting to see what system Andrew McQualter will bring with him for the voting for the best and fairest, because it changes with every single coach.
Yep.
And some of them, every player gets a vote. Some of them, only a limited number of players get votes. There's often multiple coaches who are giving votes throughout. So in a lot of best and fairest awards, if you miss games, you are severely impacted by it, and it's almost impossible to win. So I never like those systems. I like Geelong's one where you can miss games and they only rate your best 18 games. I think it works out too, so that if you're rested, then you get looked after, or if you get hurt at some point. But yeah, if it's in case where you have to play all the time, then you can almost lock in who their top 5 will be right now, and Baker will well and truly be the one who have to be pushed out of the way to win it.
Cod Thirsty Camel mailbag time. This week's special, Little Creatures Pale Ale, 330ml bottles. Camel Club member price is $66.99 a carton. Join up in-store or online today. Every week we're giving away a $50 digital voucher. Thank you to our long-time sponsors, Thirsty Camel. Get your questions in to TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Please include your mobile number at the bottom of your email, as we'll send you a digital voucher if you're a weekly winner. We're just talking about Nasiah Wanganeen Malera. This one from Josh from Willardon. A hypothetical trade. If Nasiah Wanganeen Malera wants to go to home, currently neither Adelaide nor Port have the trade capital to make it happen. Adelaide's first-round pick will likely be after pick 20, and Port don't have a first-round pick this year. One option, the Eagles could offer Adelaide pick 2, the Oscar Allen compensation pick if he goes to Brisbane, for Dan Curtin, which Adelaide could then on-trade for Nasiah. The Eagles previously tried to live trade during the 2023 draft to get Curtin. The Eagles offered the Giants their 2024 first-round pick, which became pick 3, but the Giants took Adelaide's offer instead. It's an unlikely trade. The Crows would rather trade future picks, plus Curtin has signed a 3-year contract extension, but it wouldn't be unprecedented. Josh Kennedy had signed a 2-year contract extension with the Blues and didn't want to go home, but was convinced to be part of the Judd trade. If Adelaide desperately wants Nasiah, they may have no choice but to trade Curtin. Adelaide's future first-round picks are likely to be weak, as they're likely going to stay in the premiership window for the next few years. The Saints would probably prefer this year's pick 2 instead of Adelaide's first-round picks from this year and 2 futures, all of which are likely to start in the teens. If you were the Eagles, would you ask Adelaide to consider this? Is Curtin worth pick 2, or should the Eagles push for an extra pick as well? I think he's worth pick 2. I don't think Adelaide's getting rid of Curtin. The other problem to that is I think he wants to go to Port. Very, very close with Jason Horne-Francis is Nasiah Wanganeen Millera. So, I mean, that's a really well thought out email.
Yeah, I wouldn't be trading pick 2. No, the Curtin's not worth pick 2.
You don't think so?
No.
He's a good player.
He is a good player. He's a very good player. But
could well win the Rising Star.
He could win the I think Murphy Reid hit back over the weekend.
Yeah, he did.
Those really, really, really early picks are only for the genuine top of the rung, like Jason Horne-Francis when it went from pick 1.
See, I think Curtin's in that.
I think Curtin's 6 to 12 sort of pick now still, because you're talking about the best players in the competition. You'd only give up for that pick 2 selection. West Coast need to keep pick 1, keep pick 2, and they can get Curtin in 2 years' time when they become good again. I don't think you want to leave Adelaide when they're in the window, and West Coast don't want to waste a pick when they know that if they are able to get him in 2 years with less value, and go from there. I would have thought so. Yeah, keep building. Curtin keep chasing a flag, and then they can try to get him home a little bit later on.
By the way, good effort by the Eagles, and nearly knocked off the top of the table team. 18v1. It was a really good effort, but the thing is, Cod. I mean, you can excuse skill. You can excuse youth, but you can't really excuse effort, and that's what Andrew McQualter was talking about after that Melbourne loss, and he certainly got it at the weekend against Adelaide. The key now is to produce it for 4 quarters over the final 2 rounds. I'm not talking about coughing up goals because of skill or someone's more experienced. I'm talking lack of effort, lack of trying.
Just tackle all day long. Just keep
tackle
tackling.
all day long.
Harass.
That's now your standard, and don't slip below that.
And the great thing at the moment, like we are seeing the top 9 teams panicking because they know one of them's going to miss out.
Oh, it's so. Yeah, I've never seen
Fremantle
anything
panicked in the second quarter against Port. Adelaide panicked against West Coast. Brisbane panicked against Sydney. Collingwood are panicking at the moment as well in games. You can see them all getting worried. And none of those players want to lose, and none of them want to get hurt either. And that's a bad combination to be in. You don't want to miss the finals because you're going to get hurt, and you don't want to miss the finals because you lose. And Adelaide looked nervous until they got in front and were able to go, okay, now we're in front, we know how to play it from here.
Yep.
But for 15 minutes in that last quarter, they were all over the shop. And I was in Adelaide. I was still at the airport waiting to come home. And the nervousness around the fans was there as well. I was like, what's going on? What is going on? Oh, no, we're going to lose. Oh, we're okay again. And I think we're going to see that with a lot of teams over the next couple of weeks. They're all looking nervous because one loss or even a close game is the difference between 4th and 8th or 3rd and 9th. Fremantle can still finish 2nd and can still finish 9th. So take advantage of the nerves if you're West Coast. Come up against the Bulldogs this week. Make them nervy.
And
crazy things happen when you make people nervous.
Bulldogs nearly coughed it up to Melbourne at the weekend.
They're getting nervy as well, yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned, you don't want to get injured. You don't know how. It feels like a preliminary final every week. But I think what's unique about this year is that I think genuinely, if you get there, you're a chance.
Yeah.
Because, Adelaide will finish on top and get 2 home finals. So that's a really good way of getting in.
But they've never played a final before this group, so they'll be nervous.
That's right. So I think it's genuinely one of those years where you can win from deep in the pack.
Yeah, and
Freo, if they hold their nerve and hold their position, top 4, it's a big reward, and it's there. It's there to be won.
And you know who's going really well? The coach. The coach of Freo, Justin Longmuir, is having a bloody good year.
So let's just extrapolate that one a little bit. Do you have him as your coach of the year? I've got one ahead of him.
I've got Matthew Nix slightly ahead of him at the moment if they finish on top. Yeah. Just because he will take a team from outside the 8 to the minor premiership. But look what Longmuir's done. Losing close games all last year, lose to Sydney round 2, they've fixed that. They fixed it against the Dogs a couple of weeks later and have continued to win those games. They're winning interstate, which they've struggled to in some points, and they're winning in the wet, which they've struggled to, so he's improved that. He's got angry when he's needed to and sprayed them, when everyone goes, oh, he's too calm and doesn't get emotional. He's changed that. Pat Voss, he's turned him into a player, hasn't he? Murphy Reid slipped in the draft. Fremantle have turned him potentially into the rising star. Everyone said Darcy and Jackson wouldn't work. He said, I disagree. I'm going to make it work. And he has. Their ability to win from behind in three-quarter time, no one else can do it. They can. Pearce goes forward. Great move. Tactical nous. He's changed the theme of the season around just every day matters rather than let's talk about next week or let's talk about what's happening on Thursday. Just talk about what's happening on Monday. They've fixed that since the St Kilda loss and won 11 of 13. And he's done all this without Pearce, Young, O'Meara, Fyfe, Darcy, Switkowski, Walters for large periods of the season. Like, he's been without senior players and they've gone from young to mature again now that they're all back. He's had a great year, Justin Longmuir.
He has. I've just got Nix ahead of him, given where they've come from, and I've got Chris Scott still in that frame. Now I know that their fixture's been pretty favourable. Let's be honest, Geelong, as it was last year, but he's still got him in the chop up as he does every year, Chris Scott. So I don't think you can discount him.
He's the best coach in the country.
I would have to agree with that.
But imagine if, as I said, there is a world where Fremantle can finish second, Adelaide can finish first. So if it's Adelaide top, Fremantle second, it will be a genuine battle for Coach of the Year between Matthew Nix and Justin Longmuir.
Well, it does make it a hell of a lot easier to win from outside Victoria if you finish top 2.
Absolutely.
Because you've got home final. So, I mean, it's all there to be played out, so let's see what's going to happen. Just on that dual ruck performance, this one from Jermaine, in watching Freo's dominance in fourth quarters, I wonder if this is because of their 2-prong rucks. In several games, we have seen the sole opposition ruckman fade against Sam and Luke. Sean and Luke, that should be. I wonder if we may see a slight change in the game with faster ball-ups and throw-ins, plus the possible increase of the bench to 5 with the demise of the sub. See a need to have 2 ruckmen play in more teams. It's a good email.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's helping them in the last quarters.
I think they would get rid of the sub this year, by the way.
So but in terms of that question specifically, they have said they've always believed that the last quarter was where it was going to come to fruition and really help them, having Jackson and Darcy. And we're seeing that's why they're coming back in last quarters, coming from behind at three-quarter time and controlling games and winning those key stoppages, because they can pick and choose who they put out there against a ruckman who is already fatiguing. And Darcy's ability to hold off Sweet in that last ruck contest and just tap it forward to Caleb Sarong was an example of a fresher ruckman, a big body who was able to do what he wanted to do and push it over that in that way. And if it was somebody else, they could have put Jackson in there and gone, he can leap over the top of him. They can pick and choose what they want, and it's working.
You have been listening to the West Sports Show. We have been brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. Leave us a rating and a review, and don't forget to follow this podcast so you don't miss an episode. Cod, thanks for your time again. Look forward to next Tuesday when we wrap up round 23.
Always fun quarter. See you then.